Hello, the UK government's planning to put a lot more work probation's way under the new Sentencing Act that it's going to be bringing in shortly. However, last September, His Majesty's Chief Inspector of Probation warned that he feared that the Probation Service could be in the process of being set up to fail under this new act. Now, I know the government proposing to put a bit more money into probation and to improve technology to try and assist, take probation staff away from bureaucratic tasks towards more rehabilitation work, which is greatly appreciated. But however, I'm really quite worried because I feel a lot more thought needs to be put into it, and that indeed the Probation Service needs to be an independent body and no longer under the management of the Prison Service. My own view is that politicians have seriously mismanaged the Probation Service for at least the last 30 years. Now, I'm not going to go all the way back to list all the things that happened in 30 years, but let's go back to the transforming of the Rehabilitation Act on the 20th of April 2015, which was rushed through and had awful and really awful, terrible outcomes. The National Audit Office have looked at this and they stated that it failed completely to significantly reduce reoffending. The Act also resulted in a mass exodus of very experienced staff, and it overspent £467 million. It cost more than was originally planned, £467 million. And it completely failed. It involved a split between part of the Probation Service was kept under the public services and the rest was privatised, and it failed terribly, terribly badly. The National Audit Office had a look in 2019, and it was decided that probation had been left seriously underfunded. The commercial companies had delivered exceptionally poor value for money to the taxpayer. So what happened was in 2021, the Probation Service was brought under new management, and it was brought under the management of the Prison Service. And the new body was called the HMPPS. And it was a huge mistake, this. Probation should never have been brought under the auspices of the Prison Service, because the management seriously underestimated the number of staff needed to run an effective probation service. The National Audit Office inspected the Probation Service in 2025, quite recently, and they said that the Prison Service, HMPPS, had underestimated the number of probation staff required to manage a probation service effectively by about a third, by 34%. And they also stated, even worse, that probation only had about half the staff it needed to supervise offenders effectively in the community. In 2025, they said probation had really failed to meet a number of important tasks. The performance had come down considerably since being under the prison management system, combined with the Prison Service, the HMPPS, and in 2025 it only met 26% of certain targets when it was performing considerably better back in 2018. The the probation union said in September 2025 that staff in the probation service have been under intolerable pressure. There's been a staffing retention crisis, very high staff turnover. The union estimated that staff shortages estimated in the region of about at least 10,000 people, that had a shortage of 10,000 staff. And it had a horrendous sickness problem in probation. And they said that 75% of sick absences were work-related stress, and that many of these staff faced dismissal because they were having to attend facing capability processes. In other words, if they weren't capable of doing the job, they were going to be dismissed. The National Audit Office said the government must actively manage a positive plan to boost weak probation service. To manage a plan to boost weak probation service performance. Focused needs to be on rehabilitation, clearly, as it costs this country £21 billion per year. Offenders reoffending costs this country £21 billion per year. So clearly, I would urge the government to think carefully about providing more appropriate support for probation, reversing some of the Transforming Rehabilitation Act of 2015, that more focus should go on probation and community orders, supervising people in the community, rather than supervising people coming out of prison. And most importantly, the probation service needs to be separated from the prison service completely. And it needs to work much more closely with their local communities and with the local courts. All right, do write in with your views. I'd be very pleased to hear from you. All the best now. Bye-bye.